Hello and welcome to Close Calls on the 42.e, brought to you in association with Air Sport. You know the drill at this stage. Every week we come at you to preview the hottest sporting event of the weekend. We dial up the best pundits in the game to get their take. We are coming at you on a Thursday, unconventionally, because Christmas. Because Christmas. That's why we're here on a Thursday as opposed to a Friday. We'll be back on Fridays in the new year. I'm Gavan Casey, joined by Ryan Bailey of the 42. Ryan, how are things?
Good, Gav. Good. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you very much. We could have gone with rugby again this weekend, Ryan.
Yeah, we could have.
It's not even the weekend, of course. It's a Thursday.
Yeah, rugby fest over the last few weeks, but I think football is a good choice this week. Bit of our Clasico.
Well, it's the biggest game in world football, and we are delighted to be joined on the line by ESPN's Dermot Corrigan, the man on the ground in Madrid. Dermot, how are things?
Hi lads, good to talk to you.
Absolutely, yeah, nice to have you, Dermot. I suppose one of the things that I'm most curious about going into this one is, I was wondering, is there kind of an added significance to this El Clasico, given what's gone on in Catalonia, given that this is a rivalry based on, I suppose, identities and I guess like identities on polar opposite ends of a scale in a way in Spain.
Yeah.
Like, what's it like in Madrid? Can we expect this to be a more kind of hostile burnabout than ever before in terms of welcoming Barcelona there?
Yeah, it has been a very strange couple of months here in Madrid and across in Barcelona as well, when the Catalan independence issue it's been around for a while now, for a couple of years, and at Clásicos, especially at the Camp Nou, there's been a lot of protests, and you see the flags and even some of the players getting involved, like Gerard Piqué or Xavi Hernandez back in the past, making their comments about it. It's all ramped up a lot over the last couple of months, like the scenes that we saw back in the autumn when they had the kind of illegal vote, or whatever you want to call it, was not very nice, and that has ramped things up. There was issues around a couple of games when Real Madrid went to Girona. A Barca game was called off the day of the election. I was at the Wanda Metropolitano for Atletico's game against Barca around that time as well. And there was a lot more Spanish flags than usual around it. There wasn't any sense of like violence or real nastiness around it at all, but there was a lot of the Spanish people, or the people in Madrid, a lot of people who, previously you wouldn't have really talked to them about it, but have come out maybe as conservatives or people who are Spanish nationalists, and they were making their voices seen and heard. Expected again at the Bernabeu on the weekend. There'll probably be a lot of Spanish flags, especially with the election in Catalonia this week, the regional elections. It's all over the news. Excuse me. It's not quite as not quite as built up maybe as it was back in September when that was happening. It's died down a little bit, and there's maybe a little bit less tension around. But I'd imagine around the game that certain elements in the media will build it up. Politicians will come in and talk about it. The players will all be talked about. The coaches will be asked about it for sure at the pre-match press conferences. And yeah, I'd imagine that there'll be Piqué especially will get
I was going to ask him about Piqué. He's going to get his typically friendly welcome to the Bernabeu.
Yeah, for sure. He acts as a bit of a magnet for it, I think, and he will again.
Absolutely, yeah. It's I'm sure there'll be a couple of corners where he and his old pal Sergio Ramos will be throwing a couple of elbows and whatnot. I suppose on the pitch, whatever about the political climate in Catalonia, Barcelona are doing well. We'll touch on them in a moment. Real Madrid, I suppose, given the success of their last couple of years, probably failing to live up to their own standards so far this season. Like, even if you go back to August, they gave Barca a walloping in the Super Cup. I think it was 5-1 in aggregate, and since then dropped a lot of points, particularly at home. And it's games where they've had a lot of possession and chances but can't really convert them. Like, there's kind of talk over here at least of like almost a semi-crisis there, and it's like, oh well, what's going wrong? Does most of it stem from just a couple of games where, almost like some of those Manchester United home games last year where you've like 36 shots and just can't score a goal? Like, is it like a snowball effect from them, or are there actual systemic problems with Real Madrid at the moment?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there. The 5-1 was almost the worst thing that could happen to Madrid, because they came back from the summer really, really chuffed with themselves. They'd sold a couple of players, Morata and James Rodriguez and Pepe were moved on, and they brought in these kids who are very good youngsters, who have a lot of kind of promise, but have yet to do it really. And then they won the Clasico very easily over Barca, who were in crisis with Neymar gone and everything, and people at Madrid were like, right, we're sorted now, we don't have to do anything else. But the squad is a little bit weaker than last season. One of the the great things from Madrid last year was how often late in games, even at the Bernabeu, they'd be 1-1 against Betis or Deportivo La Coruña or whoever it'd be, and Murad would come in and score a late header, or James would come off the bench and set something up or score himself. And that, it's a feature of Madrid that they don't know, this Madrid team especially, they don't always play great, but they get results, and they were able to pick up points last season when they weren't flying. Then later in the season they did click into gear and played really well as they went on and won the double. This year, when they're not playing well, as you say, they can create a lot of chances, but they can get frustrated very easily. And the mood at the Bernabeu, it's pretty funny how quickly things can turn there. Even when the team is, world champions and have won everything, a couple of weeks later, Ronaldo will get booed, or maybe even Zidane's substitutions might get questioned by the local pundits. So the team's not as strong as it was last year. First 11 is still pretty good, and on a big game, on a big occasion, they can show up against anybody, I think, when the pressure is on, which they might do at the weekend. But there is definitely a couple of weaknesses in the squad, and it wouldn't be a surprise if they sign people in January, especially if they lose on Saturday.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think we'll probably learn a lot from whether Zidane goes to his bench or not, given that there are going to be a lot of young players on it. Mentioning Zidane there, it seems, I suppose, incomprehensible that he would be under pressure given what he's achieved over the last couple of years, but this is Real Madrid we're talking about at the same time. If things don't go well at the weekend, you can pretty much write off the league as far as they're concerned. Does he come under intense scrutiny at that point, or given he's a club legend and his 2 Champions Leagues, is there a little bit of leeway there for the rest of the year when there's still cup competitions to play for?
Yeah, he gets more leeway than Rafa Benitez would have, for sure, previous to him. But as you say, it is Madrid, and these things can happen. Especially, they don't like embarrassments. That you can lose to Getafe or somebody away, and it's not a big deal. Lose at Girona, as they did a few weeks ago. But if you do get beaten at home by Barcelona, or if you get beaten by Atletico Madrid, that's the kind of thing that holds in the coach, or holds in the fans' minds, and especially with Florentino Perez. He's such a proud guy and such a big Madridista that things like that don't tend to be forgiven too quickly. Like, Zidane does have a lot of credit in the book because of the amazing, 2 Champions Leagues is pretty phenomenal. But there's a thing with Zidane that he's not a big tactics guy. He's not somebody who puts in place a huge plan that the players have to follow. He leaves a lot of it to the players to work out themselves. So when you have guys like Modric on the pitch and Kroos who can organise the team and get them playing well, and then somebody like Cristiano when he's on form, Cristiano Ronaldo up front to score the goals, things kind of click themselves. It's almost like you don't want to interfere too much. When things start to go badly, when there's injuries, when the squad's not as strong as it used to be, that's when you see maybe the limitations to Zidane, who's done a great job, but he's never really coached anywhere else. We don't know what he'd be like in charge of another team. I'd imagine he'll be fine, even if they do go out of La Liga. You basically go out of La Liga by losing on Friday. That'll be it. And then there's Paris Saint-Germain coming up in the Champions League. Were they to lose there as well, the rest of the season would be a bit of a write-off. Maybe more likely that some of the senior players would start to be criticised. Maybe Ronaldo, Bale, somebody might come down as a scapegoat at that case, ahead of Zidane maybe. But at Madrid, you can never, trying to predict what's going to happen 3 months in advance is pretty difficult.
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose, as you mentioned, not necessarily the biggest guy for tactics, Zidane, but he has managed to manage a lot of big personalities in that dressing room, perhaps better so than a lot of his predecessors. And maybe it stems from the fact that he himself played in a similar dressing room filled with stars. One of them, I think it's inevitable really that Ronaldo's future is going to be discussed pretty much intermittently throughout the season. He kind of used his winner in the World Club Cup final to shed light or shed doubt on his own future. He seems to be in a bit of a catch-22, Ronaldo, given he signed a new deal only 12 months ago. He's 33 years old, and really there aren't too many realistic suitors given his age and given the money he's already earning. So to be asking for an increase, which is what I presume he's doing, Real Madrid are in a fairly strong position there, but you get the impression that even if that might be the case, that might finally be the tipping point for Ronaldo, 6 months down the line.
Yeah, for sure. It was pretty clear what Ronaldo was at when he was speaking in the mix zone in Abu Dhabi at the weekend. You'd think we're world champions, where after winning everything in 2017, he's just won the Ballon d'Or, he won the FIFA award as well, that he'd be happy with his lot. But I think the fact that Neymar got the big move to Paris Saint-Germain during the summer, and then that Lionel Messi's just signed a new contract at Barcelona, and both of them earn more money than Ronaldo, just doesn't sit right with him. He's thinking to himself, I've won all this year. Madrid have won the Champions League. We won the Liga. I've got everything. I've done everything that I could. Why are these guys earning more than me now? And then from the club's point of view, as you say there, you can see why should we give this guy more money, because he did phenomenally well last season, but at some stage time it's going to catch up on him. He already has a contract for another 3 years. It's a difficult one. You can see both sides of it, and as you say, there's no real exit for him. Like a couple of years ago, you might have thought, okay, he'll go to Paris Saint-Germain, but Neymar's there now. Go back to Man United. That ship seems to have passed as well. So it's tricky, and he's a much better record at the Camp Nou in Clásicos than he does at the Bernabeu. He's only scored 3 La Liga goals at the Bernabeu all through his career. They've all been penalties, and it's a weird one that, as I said before, he gets hassle from his own fans. Even after everything he's done for the club, more than 300 goals, all the trophies that he's won, they're still feeling that he's never really been taken to their hearts the way even somebody like Ramos has, or Luka Modric, or some of the younger players. Even Asensio is more popular than Ronaldo. Like, seems weird, but it's the way it is amongst the Madrid fans. So that's the type of thing that can boil up. If Ronaldo scores a couple of goals at the weekend and Madrid win, they're back in the title race. It's a pretty strong bargaining chip for him. If they lose, he doesn't score again, then people go, well, you're not getting a new contract, more or less.
Sure. Like Dermot, another player that's future's always talked about is Gareth Bale, and you kind of touched on it there. He obviously came back from long-term injury in Abu Dhabi. He was quite impressive last week. He kind of came on, a few cameos, good performances. Like, again, where does he kind of sit with the Real Madrid fans? Because he's had kind of a love-hate relationship with them, and again, you can't really call into question what he's done for the club since he's arrived. So can you kind of talk us through maybe his impacts potentially on Saturday and how he's going to fit in?
Very interesting one, and maybe the most interesting thing to come out of the Club World Cup was just how good Bale looked when he came on. Like, they were really in trouble against Al Jazeera, which would have been embarrassment of the century if they had gone out in the semi-finals to the local team from Dubai. Bale came on, scored with his first touch and put them into the final. So that kind of changed the season, or the idea from him. He's a guy who's had so many injuries that he's basically, they'd moved on from him and started thinking about young guys like Asensio. Then he comes on and does that, and now there's a lot of talk that he could start at the weekend because he's raring to go basically after being away for 3 months. Still kind of difficult to see how he fits into the team, because they have evolved since he's been out, with Isco coming in and doing pretty well as a kind of an extra midfielder, an extra playmaker, which is always useful against Barca, because the way Barca play as well, having an extra man in midfield is handy. But Bale offers something that, we were talking before about how they kind of get clammed up, that they have a lot of the ball, make a lot of chances, but they're not great chances, and they find it hard to break through teams. Bale has that power and that pace. It's a big decision for Zidane to make whether he starts him. He could drop Benzema, he could drop Isco, 2 players who haven't been at their best maybe recently, to bring Bale in. But then Bale, he's in the Clásicos, he's just got 1 goal. That was a winner in the cup final, but that was back in 2014, and he's been injured a lot since. So, you kind of feel a bit for Bale, because almost when he gets on a roll and starts to do something, then he gets injured again, and it all comes up about how he doesn't speak Spanish, or he hasn't settled in. He'd prefer to be playing golf and go back to England and all, or back to Britain. I've a sneaking feeling that he might come on and do something in the Clasico at the weekend, and the timing just seems right for him, because he's fit now and he's ready to do it. But again, will he start the game? We don't know, and if things don't go well for him, he'll be the scapegoat again. So it's a tricky one for Bale for sure, and one of the more interesting things to watch out for.
Yeah, I think it's been I think it was April the last time that Ronaldo, Bale and Benzema all started together. In that scenario, to be Isco dropped. Like, Zidane seems very reticent to drop Benzema, given even in light of his poor form that you mentioned there. Is it purely on the basis that you'd almost have to change system to accommodate Bale, Isco and Ronaldo together? I mean, you don't have an out-and-out striker there, and obviously they don't really have too many options, having Saul Morata to replace Benzema with an out-and-out striker.
Yeah, Benzema, like, the conspiracy theorists have it down that Zidane is there to protect his fellow Frenchman, that Benzema gets a bit of an easy ride from Zidane, and also from Florentino Perez, because he's a kind of favourite son of the president, and his goal scoring record so far this year hasn't been great. He does bring a lot more. He's kind of the ideal foil for Ronaldo, the way he drops deep, the way he can link the play, exchange passes, say, with Isco or with Modric, and then Ronaldo runs in behind, or Bale runs in behind. It has worked pretty well for them in the past, but he's out of form, and something, you kind of think they have to change something because of the way things have been going so far this season. Benzema, he's going to get, if he misses a chance on Saturday at the Bernabeu, he's going to get whistled, he's going to get booed by the fans. They're not very happy with him at the moment. Does Zidane have will he drop a guy who he has such a close personal relationship? How would Benzema take that then if he was dropped? They're all questions that we don't really know, but it's definitely one of the talking points here in Madrid ahead of the game.
On the Barcelona side of things then, Dermot, like we mentioned there, the 5-1 Super Cup feat, they just brought in Ousmane Dembele at that point, and it was like, alright, they're going to have to it was like, we're going to have to make do and almost start again with this player who's an excellent talent in his own right, but probably a couple of years behind Neymar and what he'd done at Barcelona at that time. Dembele gets injured, like they got hammered in the Super Cup, and you're kind of thinking, alright, this may be actually the end, not just the Eamon Dunphy declared end, but the actual end of this team. And then they, under Valverde, they've probably proved everybody wrong and coped quite capably over the course of a season. I mean, both clubs' seasons have sort of diverged off in completely different trajectories. How have they sort of held things together, given the loss of Neymar and obviously the loss of Dembele there, who was meant to be his replacement?
Yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to Ernesto Valverde, the coach who came in during the summer. He's a very high-profile guy, a very low-profile guy. You know, he'd done decent jobs or good jobs around La Liga with Valencia and Athletic Bilbao, and he was at Espanyol before. But you know, it was a big ask for him to step up into what's such a pressure cooker situation at the Camp Nou, and then to lose Neymar on top of it. You know, just a couple of weeks before the season, and with not much help from the board behind him. You know, Barca's board are stumbling around from crisis to crisis all the time. So he was in a very difficult situation. And he's done really, really well. He's not done anything particularly fancy. I think he's given even more so the reins of the team to Messi. Like, everything goes through Messi, which, if you have Messi, and you can get into the debate around Messi and Ronaldo, all night if you want. But with Messi in the team, he's capable of doing so much. He can organise it from midfield, and he can score the goals at the same time. And that's pretty much what Valverde has done. He set up the team with Suarez up front, with an extra midfielder. When Dembele got injured, he thought about for a while, Deulofeu or trying to play somebody out wide, and pretty quickly stuck Paulinho in, who's been a big success, really a surprise success for them in midfield. But it all goes through Messi. It's when Messi is clicks, and when Messi's on form, the team can blow people away. The couple of games that he's not been at his best, or when he's been rested or whatever, you've seen the team struggle. Even at games like up in Athletic Bilbao, they were lucky enough to get the 3 points. They weren't playing the beautiful possession football, the kind of tiki-taka stuff that, from Xavi, Iniesta, those type of days. Iniesta's getting on a bit. He's 33. He's not the player that he was. He was very good at the weekend, but, they don't have the ability to play the way they used to do. So Valverde has got them very well organised, not conceding goals, took an extra guy in midfield, and then left it to Messi really to do the rest. And looks like an excellent coaching decision, because it's worked well for them so far.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously there's been plenty of talk of Philippe Coutinho. It's still something that Coutinho has asked after Liverpool games. Some talk as well now about Antoine Griezmann, and Atletico Madrid are apparently not best pleased with Barcelona's supposed pursuit of Antoine Griezmann. So obviously, I mean, Barcelona seem cognizant of the fact that they still need to strengthen their squad, and is there a chance that maybe their start to the season, as impressive as it has been, that maybe a couple of cracks are being papered over there that may be exposed either at the Bernabeu or in the latter stages of the Champions League?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that we still have to see, because they're so reliant on Messi for one, and other teams have managed to deal with Messi in the past. Juventus did a really good job on him last season in the Champions League, and Chelsea, I wouldn't rule out them being able to do a similar job. Conte's so clever, and Chelsea are so experienced, especially around at shutting down games like that. They need to have a couple of other options for sure. Suarez is getting on as well. He's had injury issues. He's scored a good few goals recently, but he's not the player that he was. So you can understand why, if they have a lot of the Neymar money still knocking around, that they want to try and spend it in the summer. It's hard to know how Coutinho exactly would fit into the team. It would presumably mean moving back a little bit more towards the possession-based approach, trying to play him as a kind of Iniesta in midfield, and you'd have to see how that goes. I don't think that's a guaranteed success, because Coutinho, for all the talents that he has, and he's been very good for Liverpool, he hasn't really, he's not been playing as a midfield playmaker. He's not been coming back and getting the ball in his own half too often from what I've seen. Griezmann as well, I think they're going to have a lot of trouble trying to get him out of Atletico. Another kind of misstep by Barca's board, being so open about it at the weekend, opening themselves up to potential trouble. And again, where Griezmann would fit, it would mean, again, trying to reshape the team mid-season. Then you have Dembele coming back as well. So whether the team are are as complete to go on and win the Champions League or not. We don't know. If they get a good result of the weekend, they'll probably win the Liga. But I'd say there's plenty of challenges for Valverde coming down the road as to how whether he gets new players or not in January, how he evolves the team over the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months.
Jeremy, you talk obviously about an evolution there. I suppose you could talk about it on both sides. Real Madrid, moving away kind of from the Galacticos and bringing in a couple of younger players. Barcelona maybe not playing that tiki-taka style that they're renowned for over the last couple of years. Does this fixture, I suppose for people who are kind of general football fans tuning in on Saturday, does this fixture kind of still carry the same weight and significance and appeal as it had maybe a couple of years ago? And given also the fact that there's now such a gulf between the sides in terms of points in the tables.
Maybe not. Maybe I think that when La Liga set it up for the 23rd of December, they were hoping that the two teams would be closer together at the top of the table. They're hoping for more of a battle. You can see, especially as well with the performances of the Spanish teams in Europe so far this season. Barca topped their group, but they haven't been flying. Madrid beaten by Spurs, Chelsea beaten Atletico Madrid. There's been even a lot of talk over here in Spain about possibly the Premier League taking over a little bit, or this being maybe a tilting away from Spain's dominance. They haven't been able to sign the best players. In the last couple of years, the biggest players have gone elsewhere. Neymar is the obvious one, even for PSG, but Paul Pogba, Madrid and Barca were both linked with him. Then maybe United just had more money and were able to sign him. And it's been a while since Madrid or Barca have unveiled a big transfer coup, the likes of Suarez or Gareth Bale, when they came, that they got the player that everybody wanted and they had to come to Spain. So maybe it has dipped off a little bit. I've said that Madrid have won the last two Champions Leagues, Barca won the one before it. So there's a long way to go yet, I think, before whether it's Man City or Chelsea or Man United or whoever take over as the dominant team in Europe. But there's a couple of cracks there for sure. And if the Clasico is maybe dull, if it's a 1-1 that nobody's really happy with at the end of it, Barca will be happy, but without a big excitement factor, then it wouldn't have been what La Liga Chiefs and the marketing people would have hoped for the game, for sure.
Where do you see the game being won and lost this Saturday, Dermot? Like, I'm just looking at Barcelona's lineups from some of their bigger games this year. They've played this Portuguese lad Nelson Semedo at right back, and they've moved Sergio Roberto further up the pitch, not quite as an out-and-out winger, but kind of like a fourth midfielder. And you kind of think, looking at the Barcelona team overall, there may be a little bit of a lack of pace there, and I particularly this Saturday, because Samuel Umtiti is out for 2 months, or maybe a month left with that. So it's going to be like Thomas Vermaelen at the back with Gerard Piqué. They can surely be gotten at.
Yeah, I think so, and I think both teams are going to play pretty cautiously from the start. I think Sergio Roberto might play at right back, and they might bring in Paulinho into midfield to have a little bit of extra muscle in there with Rakitic and Busquets and Iniesta as well and then basically that'd be their four-man midfield, and then to try and protect Vermaelen at the back. Like Madrid have given up a good few chances as well. I think neither team are going to. It's very hard to predict what's going to happen in Clasico, but it looks most likely that it could be very tight at the start. That both teams will look not to make mistakes, because Madrid know if they lose the game, they're pretty much out of the title race. Barca be happy with a draw. It'll do them, so they could sit tight. Look to hopefully Messi might make something happen for them. So it could be cagey enough. Then it might break open if somebody does score. If, for example, Madrid can get at Vermaelen and score from there, or if Messi does a bit of magic and then Madrid have to come out and attack them, then there'll be gaps at the back, and both teams might end up going for it. Because there's been a lot of goals in Clásicos. They tend to be, I can't remember when the last 0-0 was, but it's a long time ago. Like a long time before my time in Spain for sure. So chances are it'll break up. That might suit Bale. I know going back to just what might happen and maybe potential storylines out of it. If things do go a bit crazy in the second half, and if both teams are going for it, that'd be ideal to send Bale into that situation and for him to make a hero for himself. Madrid do have more options off the bench. You look at Barca's bench, and Alcacer got injured at the weekend, so he's out, and there's not too many people to come in. Whereas Madrid, they have Asensio as well, youngster who scored a great goal in the Supercopa and is just he's going to be a big star. It's hard for him to get into the team in the big games, but he comes off the bench and often does a lot. So maybe Madrid might win it in the second half if it does tend to go crazy. But trying to predict it, as I say, is difficult.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Dermot, thanks a million for joining us. Much appreciated. Hope you enjoy the game and have a good Christmas.
Cool. Cheers, lads. Enjoyed it.
Right, nice one.
Thanks, Gav.
I'm looking forward to that now, I have to say.
Absolutely.
To you at home as well, thanks a million for watching. Thanks to Air Sport. Hope you all have a wonderful Christmas, and we will be back in the new year. Happy New Year as well. But until then, have a good one and take care.